through the main spoiler-free review of the week. Obviously, I'm not cool enough. I'm not that guy on the ReelTok podcast. I'm the least popular member.
Hey,
so,
man, I think you should have gone.
Thank you.
I just got lucky.
Well, was there even anything in that continent that was having an early showing yesterday, though?
Well, in the continent.
Legitimately.
Travel to Russia.
Well, I don't think any. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't think anything in Europe anywhere. I don't think it was only America.
There would have been early screenings in London, I'm sure, but not that I know of anyway.
I don't think there.
I feel like HZ Joe and stuff would have went.
Like they would have, Like those big TikTokers, they would have been able to go, but I don't think.
There's usually, for the Marvel projects, there's usually.
They had it in Australia. They had it in Australia, I think, because
I'm sure they would have had it in
New Zealand. Like
I have no doubt in my mind that if there was anything in the entire country of your country, like you would have been invited. So I think there just was no.
No, definitely not. I've never been invited to a Marvel. I'm so surprised as to why, but I
feel like you just started getting invited to things, or maybe not just, but like the last one was Ant-Man and the Lost Quantumania. Then before that, do you think you would have gotten invited to what the fuck?
Yeah, you make a fair point. I don't know, man. But we got three of us saw it anyway. So, because I initially, suggested we should speak about it today, or you should speak about it. But I think very much go into detail of what you liked, what you didn't, but nothing in terms of spoiling anything. Like even less than a usual review. Obviously, we usually split it up into spoiler and non-spoiler. You won't get any spoiler in this episode because obviously it's not got a wide release yet. It'll just be going into what the three gentlemen liked, what they didn't like, or in Cam and Tyler's case specifically, how much they loved it. But I'm going to kick it to Cam first of all, because Cam...
I gave it a 4.5.
Did you? I thought you gave it a 4.
He raised it after he got FOMO of the 5s.
I raised it.
You can do it again.
So I made the wild claim that this is the best movie in the MCU.
The whole MCU.
I was gonna ask about that.
As of now, I'm okay with it. I fully expect to lower it. Maybe not lower it. So it's a 96 out of 100 for myself right now.
Is that your highest one? I thought you had higher than that for some reason.
Nope. Infinity War is also a 96. So I just I gave this the slight edge, probably recency bias. Infinity War is like the easiest rewatch in the MCU for me.
Agreed.
It probably won't be higher than that, and that's fine. I'll go a week of clickbait saying it's the highest, but I did also say it's like the best movie of the year, and I think, and people got not mad about that. Like I said that in my review, and I feel like this year has just been pretty weak.
There's not been a crazy amount of competition.
Exactly. Like Tyler, you've seen 80 movies, and I think this is your only 5-star this year, right?
Correct. Is my number one of the year.
Yeah.
Only 5-star.
So I don't think this year's been particularly strong. And people also commented, someone commented like, better than Mario? You idiot. Like that was one specific comment that got mad at me.
Sophie has it rated below Mario.
Really? That's incredible. But that comment made me laugh. I think it's incredible, man. What James Gunn does with these characters is so damn good. Seth, I truly think this is the closest you'll come to a 5-star. Maybe not. I think Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. So Guardians of the Galaxy is 4.5, right?
No, it's a 4. However,
Jesus Christ! I thought you gave at least one 4.5. Never mind.
No.
This is the highest. This is the closest it'll come to a 2.
I think I do actually really like. I think Guardians of the Galaxy. I've only seen it once, bear in mind. So I think maybe. Yeah. I'm gonna rewatch the first one. Maybe I don't like the second as much as the first.
Yeah.
But I'll probably rewatch it, especially the first one this week before I go, and then I think that might be 4.5. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this movie was hilarious, man. I was dying in my seat a couple times, and I need to rewatch because I need to take my notes because I've forgotten every funny thing or every
Did you laugh at the Drax ball kick? Was that in the film?
I laughed so hard.
Bro, that was a good one. That was probably that was a laugh, but that was probably the least funny part.
It wasn't even.
You've seen it so many times.
I know that too, but I died laughing. And it changes everything when they bleep out the get in the fucking car. It was from that clip. I died laughing at that. That was very funny. It's just Chris Pratt's line delivery was great. Overarching things, Chukwudi Iwuji is fantastic as the High Evolutionary. the closest person that would come to a supporting actor in this, it would be like Rocket Raccoon. It's a fucking raccoon, so he's certainly not getting nominated. This movie obviously
Loki, he could have been main character though.
Yeah, just true. Could have been the main character. This movie obviously. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Closest it'll come to. Fine. Chris Pratt. Then closest it'll come to a supporting. This movie obviously deals a lot with animals, with Rocket Raccoon, with Cosmo the dog. You're just, come on. I'm gonna eat that shit up every time. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. My one, and this isn't even a gripe, my one takeaway, it's not a takeaway, I guess. I will say, I think this has the worst soundtrack of the three, but
that's not really.
I think that's
scorched earth of a take.
I'm
glad, George. I'm glad you're on my.
I was legitimately going to say whenever it came around to me that this was the best soundtrack, and it's not even.
Okay.
Wow.
This soundtrack was
better than 1 and 2.
This soundtrack was so fucking good. Maybe it's recency bias.
It's really great. No, that's the thing. It's really great.
I watched Guardians 1 and 2 earlier this week, so like they're fresh in my mind, and I still walked out of Guardians 3 being like, that's it. It's
really, that's the thing. It's really great. But I think the first two are also really great. You know, like that. So like to say it's the worst is wrong. You will be. When this movie comes out, you'll be just loving Florence and the Machine.
I saw your tweet this morning.
Yeah, that's been on repeat. I have more things to say, but we can kick it to George and Tyler, whoever. Yeah. Tyler, you're the other 5-star. Give it to him.
Tyler, yeah.
Yeah, so just keeping it the highest of high levels. For me personally, I thought this was the funniest MCU film I've seen, and I'm like just as critical of MCU humor as pretty much anyone on this planet. But genuinely, can't even think of an instance where like a joke they made like didn't really land for me. I thought all the jokes were hilarious. Seth loves Drax. I think this is Drax's funniest movie yet. So I think Seth would love that. He's the dude. So for me, it was the funniest MCU movie I've ever seen. It was also the most emotional MCU movie I've ever seen, which like feels weird because we just had Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But if I'm just being honest, like this is the most emotional I've been during an MCU film. Like, sorry.
I think that like Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and sorry to cut you off, is like emotional at the start. Like just because obviously it pays tribute to Chadwick, and that's probably like the most like a real emotion because he's a real person who passed away. And
but then they kind of
go back to the MCU mold,
Yeah, but I thought the James Gunn just knocked it out of the park once again. I thought the fight scenes in this were some of the craziest fight scenes in the entire MCU. Like insanely shot, insanely edited, insanely choreographed in terms of like how they set them all up. Chukwudi Awuzie, like as a High Evolutionary, insane. Like just his performance was so crazy, so good, and I really enjoyed Will Poulter as well. And I don't know if I think maybe some people were complaining about him. I don't know if that was like before. I don't know, but I really liked him.
I was gonna like that.
I really enjoyed him actually.
I don't even want to get into like rumors about what his character.
No, right. Yeah, that's all for next week. But I'm just saying, like, I enjoyed him. I'm like genuinely, I watched it so that they're obviously like super on lockdown of like no filming or anything during the movies, which I wasn't planning on anyways. But like my Apple Watch like lights up a shit ton like during random stuff, so I was like, oh whatever, I'll just put it in my pocket. So this is like the first time I've ever like watched a movie without having to watch on. And normally like once during a movie I'll be like, oh, I just wonder how much time's left and like check my watch. But this I didn't at all, and I never felt the runtime. 2.5 hours. It just felt like it was just going along fine. Just genuinely nothing I would change. And like I was driving home, I was like, I'm between a 4.5 and a 5. Going back and forth between my head, and I'm like, the only reason my mind's telling me to do 4.5 is just like because I enjoyed it that so much. It's just because my mind's like, oh, it's a Marvel film, I can't give it a 5. And I was like, nah, screw that. Like I genuinely like really enjoyed it that much. It's my second highest MCU film all time behind Infinity War. I don't know. I think James Gunn's truly the best comic book director of all time, purely because everything he's done in DC and Marvel, not only are they great, but he takes characters that have no pre-existing connections to people. Like he just takes people that no one gives a fuck about and turns them into just incredible movies. So for that, I just think he's incredible at transforming these people. Last thing, like all the character designs and the production designs for this film were so creative and so awesome. I just feel like it just, this movie retroactively makes me want to go back and rate like Quantumania like a 0 because there's just no excuse. Like the visual effects, can't think of a single thing I want to point out that I thought was bad. So everything was great in this. I'm a Quantumania defender, but there's one moment in this movie where a character touches a CGI character,
And it's the same exact scene as in Quantumania when Janet touches a CGI character. And the contrast between the two is wild for them to be the same exact production company.
Right.
Like,
there's literally nothing.
Not
there was not a single moment in this movie where I was like, that VFX isn't the greatest. Like, it was like it just makes every other MCU project that's had bad stuff that's come out lately just look even more shameful in retrospect.
What was the budget comparatively to Quantumania? I imagine it was higher.
I think they've all been like 200, 250 million. I'm sure it'd be the same exact budget.
Dramatically higher or anything.
Right. And based on the set pieces of this movie, probably just as much green screen and visual effects were poured into it as Quantumania, but it just looks so good. The writing was great. Everyone's lovable. There's just nothing I could pick apart for this movie, and I'll end it there. Like, I just genuinely loved everything about it, and it was a great conclusion to the trilogy. And man, like I said this like a couple weeks ago, I'm like, who's this going to be a bigger W for, DC or Marvel? And obviously it's like great for Marvel for them to get like this back on track. But man, that sucks that like DC is going to be like, that Marvel's not going to have James Gunn in it anymore, because he just really delivers. And this movie felt so self-contained too. Like, Riley hadn't even seen 1 and 2 of Guardians, and she gave this a 4.5 because like literally this movie, like, you genuinely, like, obviously it's ideal to watch the other one before this, but you could genuinely go into this and very much enjoy it because this is a very like self-contained story. So I just thought it was a home run in every aspect, and everyone was surprised on Twitter when I gave it a 5, which I guess is like a little surprising. But I think I've just been so negative on this podcast about Marvel for the past, like, I don't know, 25 episodes that everyone's like, The Matrix is broken. Tyler, give it a 5-star. I'm like, I mean, I like still like Marvel movies. I just hold their feet to the fire when they deserve it, but I'll give them credit when they deserve it. And there's absolutely a point when they deserve it. So yeah, 5 stars, number 1 of the year, baby.
Nice, George.
Nice. I mean, exact same what they all, but the two of them said. So I'm not going to harp on it. But just to add, I think at least in the MCU, this is the best blend of genres I think we've ever seen, between comedy, drama, the emotion, the action was kick ass. And like Tyler said, there was not a minute of this 2.5-hour runtime where I was like, okay, let's pick up the pace. Like, it just kept going and going, but it moved at like such a tolerable and manageable way that 2.5 hours just kind of went by without note. The movie started, like the end scenes like came up, and I was like, wow, is it already 2.5 hours? I feel like it flew by. I absolutely love that every single character in this movie has their moment to shine. It reminded me so much of the airport battle of Captain America Civil War, where like every single character just had a moment. Like even fucking Cosmo the dog had a moment. And I think I love that because, one, it's sick. I think, third movie in, fourth movie or fifth movie that we see the Guardians all together, like they deserve like that moment. Like Mantis had a sick moment. No spoilers. Every single character had a moment. Drax had a really nice moment. Cosmo the dog had a moment. It just shows how much James Gunn like cares about these characters. Like there's no side like characters in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously, Rocket, Gamora, Peter, they're the main guys, but like he cares enough about like Arrow Dude to give him a fucking moment.
Sean Gunn.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah,
his brother.
I always
his brother.
forget that's his brother.
Yeah.
But no, I loved it. I had a really blast of a 2.5 hours. This is probably gonna be in my top 10 Marvel. I don't know if I'm gonna put this above the first. I think I just hold that one like very near and dear to my heart. But honestly, maybe I still have my tickets to see it this next Thursday, so I might just go again and like wait to fully rank it then. But I loved it.
Yeah, I just want to bounce off that, George, because that's exactly what I was going to say. James Gunn is so damn good at giving every single character a moment. Like there's a point in like Infinity War and Guardians 2 where I think like what's this character like just compared to everyone else sucks.
Yeah.
And James Gunn is just, and it's a lot of creative writing, which people maybe be upset about. Like everyone conveniently has their moment, like you said, but it's the point of actually doing that rather than just like, hey, we have this Eternals cast, right? And we're going to make 2 of them just kind of side casts. Like they're, Brian Tyree Henry's here, but he's kind of pushed off to the side or same with whatever half the Eternals were. James Gunn does not do that at all in this movie, and it's so well written to where every character is fleshed out. It's insane how well he does it.
They were also, and this is kind of like a Go finish your thought. Because
no, I was just gonna say I can't like stress that enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think who just said it? Cam, one of you guys just said how like James Gunn just takes characters no one knows and
I think
makes
Tyler
them.
said that.
Yeah, and this is a movie where like we shouldn't be feeling this amazing about these stupid characters, but James Gunn just did such a good job with every single character. The writing around everyone was just so incredible. Adam Warlock's introduction scene is one of my favorite scenes in comic book history.
Really?
That shit literally
it was good.
I was so tense. That scene was amazing. But, and this isn't really a spoiler, I wish he had more screen time. Mm-hmm. That's like one of my gripes with the movie, but I know this like was never like he was never the main like whatever antagonist or whatever in this movie, so like it didn't bother me as much. But like I loved his character so much. I think Will Poulter was hysterical.
Will Poulter was hysterical.
He was so funny. But yeah, I've been looking at like my MCU ranking all morning, trying to figure out where I want to put this thing.
I think this could be Seth's highest rated.
I think it will be Seth's highest.
Well, I think that if the first, it's not like a outlandish prediction to have if the first one is my highest anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know what I mean? Do you think this Guardians film, I don't know how to put this, we know how the MCU is right now in terms of the audience. There's a lot of people split on it, especially with the recent projects they brought out in the last year or two. Do you think this is truly something that could really bounce them back into the spotlight in terms of the general population as well, or not?
No. I think it'll make $1 billion.
I don't care about money. All Marvel film makes.
No, I think.
I mean, that's not true. That is not true with the last like 5.
Well, how much did they make?
Quantumania lost a ton.
Quantumania made like $300 million when all is said and done, which is like a big loss.
Really?
Crazy loss. No,
350.
I think a lot of people are still, respectfully, in my mind, James Gunn's the only competent filmmaker working for Marvel right now, and I think people like understand that. Like Peyton Reed, like he could do his thing, but he's gonna
his thing's not good.
Yeah, he's gonna pump out a Quantumania every so often. James Gunn has just been so consistently good throughout his career, and I think people understood that going into Guardians 3 because it's like, okay, yeah, it's an MCU movie, but this is an MCU filmmaker who's out of the box. He's creative. He's unpredictable. He would never sign up for a project if he didn't like have the capability of doing what he wanted to do. So I think people going into this movie understand that. I don't think this movie is going to like save the MCU.
Okay, because I think a lot of people, I wouldn't say I do myself because I like a lot of other MCU films that aren't Guardians, but a lot of people I know solely like Guardians. They see it as kind of a separate entity because James Gunn has this original flair with character work, which he does. So I didn't know if this would be like saving for MCU or people would just go into it knowing it's Guardians and they'll probably like it anyway. Because a lot of people who don't like the MCU still like Guardians because it's so different.
It's just so self-contained, whereas like Quantumania clearly was meant to set up other things. So like Quantumania being a home run would be better for Marvel than this being a home run, I'd say.
It's his own thing.
It
doesn't have to always tie in because it's
I think it was like Eternals was the first movie in the MCU, not other than Iron Man, obviously, not to feature a single character that was previously in the MCU. And is this a spoiler? If so, you can take it out. But this is the second movie, if that. Like, it's so self-contained.
Is that a spoiler? Is that a spoiler? I don't know.
No. Again, and this isn't a spoiler either. But like when we like get into the movie and we kind of like we understand what this movie's about, like what the objective is. Even I kind of sat back and I was like, wow, that's like super small scale if like you really think about it. Like there's not, this isn't like a world-ending threat. This isn't like there's no what's his name? Like there's no Kang or something. There's no gigantic world-ending threat. Yeah, I
think most people prefer that, other than if it's like an Infinity War or like a Endgame.
Yeah.
I think people want to go back to the roots a little bit, and that's like what they say Daredevil's going to be, right? Or what Spider-Man's supposed to go towards, in the sense that he's all alone. People want to get back to like a grounded, and this isn't grounded by any means. It's fucking Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's certainly more grounded than Avengers Infinity War.
It can still be grounded in terms of like the narrative aspects, can't it? In comparison to like a big scale like Infinity War or Endgame and stuff like that. Anything else anyone wants to touch on, or are we going to leave everything for next week?
I think we are pushing spoiler territory, so
I feel like I'm going to slip.
Cool. So George, originally 4, you changed to a 4.5 now.
I did, yes.
Tyler, 5 out of 5. What was your score again? I can't remember what you said. Did you say your score?
9.5.
Yep, 9.5.
9.5.
Which
Exactly,
shout out my friend Tim, because I texted him. I was like, gave out an 8.5 for Guardians 1, 7.5 for Guardians 2, and then he texted me in the morning. He's like, well, hopefully Guardians 3 is a 9.5, and he nailed it. So shout out to him.
Nice. Cameron, 5 out of 5, 96.
96. Yep. 96
Any predictions for myself when I watch it on Wednesday?
I'll go back to, I think this could be the closest to a 4.5.
So do you think a 4.5 or do you think a high 4?
I'm going to say 4.5. I'm going to say
Interesting.
I'm
going to say 4.5, but I will say, and I'm not saying you should do this just for clicks, but if you tweet out a 5-star review, it'll be like, it might even break the Carrie Condon tweet. It might break the Carrie Condon tweet for you for the record for most retweets and favorites. That would be like, that would break Twitter.
Yeah, I might do that, but yeah. So
I will say I had one of my best tweets best performing tweets last night, and it was just me in my sweatshirt. It was my devious fit.
I woke up to that this morning. I showed Anna, and I was laughing so much.
The word devious absolutely sent.
Did you set up a self timer for that?
It was Tyler's reply to it as well.
Was that a self timer?
Yeah, that was a self timer.
That makes it even better. That's what Riley called out. She's like, the funniest part was like he like set up a self timer and set that down and took that picture of himself.
I had my wife take a couple pictures of me, and I was like, I don't like this. I'd rather just a less serious picture. So I set up a self timer, and then I accidentally started moving before, and I was like, that's perfect. That's me.
The bottom right of that picture, is that your baby's head?
I think so. Yeah,
it is.
I was thinking
right?
That's why I started. That's why I started moving for it. I get it.
Because your baby was falling.
Rushing
to get him.
That is my baby's head. No, he's in like a walker thing.
Oh god, I want to talk Guardian spoilers so bad.
I know, same.
Save it for next week.
Next week.